Hello everyone. So before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Trupal Rathod. I'm a clinical pharmacist and I run a YouTube channel where I upload medical related tutorial videos on a regular basis. So if you are new to my channel, then kindly go through my channel, subscribe to my channel, like my videos and share it with others. In this video tutorial, I'm going to talk about pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis. To understand the pathophysiology, first we need to understand what exactly the rheumatoid arthritis is, right? So from the name only we can understand that arthritis means inflammation of joints and rheumatoid means involvement of musculoskeletal system. So now coming to the definition, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disorder. Right? There are so many autoimmune disorders like diabetes, SLE, systemic sclerosis, spondylitis, and rheumatoid arthritis is one of them. Okay, we all know the meaning of autoimmunity, right? Our immune system thinks that our body is an enemy and they attack them, right? Our immune system attacks the healthy cell of our own body. That is what the autoimmunity means, right? Now, this disease, this rheumatoid arthritis is also a chronic disease. Now, what does chronic means? Chronic का मतलब होता है it's a long term disease, right? Chronic diseases they develop over a period of time and then they remain for a lifetime, right? We cannot cure the chronic diseases, right? We can give a medication, we can slow down the progression, we can prevent the worsening of disease, but we cannot completely cure the chronic diseases, right? In rheumatoid arthritis also it is same, right? And this disease it normally occurs in 40s and 50s, and once it develops it remains for a lifetime. We can give the medication to treat them, which will slow down the progression of disease, which will prevent the worsening of rheumatoid arthritis, right? So that we can improve the quality of life of the patients, but we cannot completely cure the rheumatoid arthritis, and that is why it is called as a chronic disease, right? This acute and chronic disease it's a bit confusing term. If you want me to make a detailed video on difference between acute and chronic diseases, then please comment down below. Okay, now this rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory disease. We all know that rheumatoid arthritis it specifically targets the synovial joints, right? So all the inflammatory cells will be involved in this process, like beta cells, T cells, cytokines, inflammatory mediator, other inflammatory mediators such as interleukins. So all those inflammatory mediators and inflammatory cells will be involved, and they'll produce the inflammation in the synovial cavity. Right? They'll cause the inflammation of synovial membrane. Now the important thing you need to understand here is that this inflammation in the joint it will spread from there to the other part of body also. It can spread to the heart, it can affect the liver, it can affect spleen, it can affect kidney, right? So there will be an extra articular involvement, right? And that's why this disease is called as a progressive disease, because the inflammation which has occurred into a joints will progress to a other part of disease also, and that is why it is called as a progressive disease. Now coming to the some specific characteristic of this rheumatoid arthritis, it includes polyarticular involvement. That means that the joints which are involved in rheumatoid arthritis are multiple joints. This disease it can affect the knee, it can affect the elbow, it can affect the shoulder, right? So there will be a multiple joints involvement, and that is why it is called as a polyarticular involvement, right? Then another important feature of this disease is the symmetry, right? The joint which are involved in this disease are the symmetrical joints. So if this disease it occurs in a right knee, then it will also going to spread to the left knee, right? So there will be a symmetrical joint involvement. Okay, so I hope now you have got the gross idea about what rheumatoid arthritis is. Now if we talk about epidemiology of rheumatoid arthritis, then the worldwide the prevalence of this rheumatoid arthritis is 1%, right? And the prevalence of this disease is more in females compared to the males, and the ratio is 3:1, right? This disease it normally occurs in 40s and 50s, but the prevalence increases with the age. Now coming to the pathophysiology, we all know that rheumatoid arthritis it specifically targets the synovial joints. So to understand the pathophysiology, first we need to look at the basic anatomy of synovial joint. So here in the diagram you can see that there are two bones and they are covered by the cartilages, right? And the entire space between the bones is encircled by the synovial membrane, right? And The synovial membrane is protected by the fibrous capsule. So that is the basic anatomy of synovial joint, which will help us in understanding the pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis. Now, to understand the pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis, first let's see what is pre-rheumatoid arthritis, right? So it has been found that there are some factors which makes the particular group of people more susceptible to develop the rheumatoid arthritis. So let's see what are those factors. So it includes genetic modification, or we can say genetic factors. For example, HLA-DR4 and HLA-DR1. In that too, specifically HLA-DR4. We know that it belongs to this human leukocyte antigen system. We do know that many autoimmune disorders, right, they have this genetic modification in this human leukocyte antigen system, right? They are normally seen on the chromosome number 6. So this HLA modification, or we can say presence of this HLA genes, human leukocyte antigens, makes the group of people more susceptible to develop the rheumatoid arthritis. But these genetic factors, they cannot be responsible for the rheumatoid arthritis. There are some other environmental factors also which are responsible for the susceptibility of rheumatoid arthritis. What are those factors? So that includes smoking, use of oral contraceptive, pregnancy conditions, or we can say presence of the specific bacteria called Porphyromonas gingivalis, right, which is responsible for causing gingivitis, inflammation of gingiva के inflammation के लिए responsible है ये bacteria. So these factors and these genetic factors together, they are responsible for the rheumatoid arthritis. What am I trying to say here is that if there is a group of people who are chronic smoker, right, and they also do have this genetic modification in HLA, human leukocyte antigen system, so together these two factors make that particular group of people more susceptible to develop the rheumatoid arthritis. Together these factors, they leads to the modification of our own antigen, or we can say auto antigen, right? So what are those auto antigen? It could be type 2 collagen or the vimentin, right? Type 2 collagen, they are normally seen in the cartilages, right? They are normally seen in the cartilages, and the vimentin is a filamentous protein. Now, these proteins, they contain the specific amino acids called arginine amino acid. Now, what is this modification? This modification is nothing but it is called as a citrullination. Now, what is citrullination? Citrullination is the process that convert this arginine amino acid which are present in this type 2 collagen and vimentin into citrulline, a newer amino acid. So, citrullinated protein, they act as an antigen and they trigger the development of rheumatoid arthritis. Now this citrullinated protein, they act as an antigen, and this antigen that will be recognized by the specific cell called as a APC cell. Here APC means nothing but a antigen presenting cell, right? Now what can act as antigen presenting cells? Mainly the dendrite and the macrophages, they are the antigen presenting cells. Now what does this antigen presenting cell do? Now we know that these cells, they can travel to the nearby lymph node, and as we know, this lymph node, they contains the lymphocytes, which includes beta cells and T cells, right? So this antigen presenting cell will present this antigen or the citrullinated protein to this beta cell and T cells, and when this antigen bind to a T cell, specifically CD4 plus H T cell, helper T cells, these T cells will get activated, and when this antigen will bind to a B cell will also get activated. Now here the interesting thing is that B cell will further activate the T cells, and T cells can also activate the beta cell. So this process is called as a co-stimulation. Now this is why this process of co-stimulations, beta cells will further proliferate and they'll differentiate into a specific cell type, that is plasma cell. Now as we all know that plasma cells, they are responsible for the formation of specific antibody. Here that will be a specific auto antibody which mainly include RF, that is nothing but a rheumatoid factor autoantibody, and second one is the anti-citrullinated protein antibodies, ACPS, anti-citrullinated protein antibodies. So two autoantibodies will be generated here from the plasma cells. Now one more thing you need to remember here is that this RF, rheumatoid factor, is nothing but a immunoglobulin M. and this RF, this rheumatoid factor, it is less specific and more sensitive. What does it mean? That it is less specific means in other condition also RF can be generated, rheumatoid factor can be generated, in other autoimmune condition also it is generated. That is why it is called as a less specific, and it is more sensitive. That means it is easily detectable. Almost in the 80 to 90 percentage of rheumatoid arthritis cases, this rheumatoid factor is present. So that's why we can say it is more sensitive. Whereas opposite to that, this anti-citrullinated protein antibodies, they are more specific. That means they are only seen in the rheumatoid arthritis, but they are less sensitive. What does it mean? That they cannot be easily recognized, right? उनका डिटेक्शन जो है वो इजीली नहीं होता है. That's why they are less sensitive. So this is the diagnostic point you need to remember, right? Okay. Now this specific antibody, specifically rheumatoid factors, they'll bind to the Fc portion of immunoglobulin G, and it will form immune complexes, right? They'll form a immune complexes. Now this immune complex and this activated CD4 plus T cells, they'll enter into a blood circulations, and via blood they'll reach to the synovial cavity where they'll produce their axon. Okay, so now let's see what axon they'll produce there. Now once this immune complexes and T cell they enter into a synovial cavity, they'll perform their action. Now let's see first what this immune complexes will do. So immune complexes, they'll activate this complement system and will produce the inflammatory response, right? This inflammatory response which will lead to the inflammation of blood vessels which are present nearby this synovial cavity, right? And that inflammation of blood vessel is called as a vasculitis. Now you need to remember here that not only this immune complexes are responsible for the vasculitis, but the cytokines which are released from these T cells and the macrophages are also responsible for the vasculitis. Now let's see what does this T cell do. So this activated T cells in the synovial cavity, they'll secrete the specific cytokines, that is interferon gamma and interleukin 70. They are called as a chemokines. They are called as a chemotactics. Chemotactics का मतलब होता है chemo attractants. They'll further attract the macrophages into the synovial cavity, into the inflammatory region, right? And what does this macrophages will do? They release the further cytokines, that is TNF alpha, interleukin 1 and interleukin 6, right? And this is the cyclic process. Like the cytokines, they'll again activate the macrophages, and macrophages will release the more number of cytokines, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 1 and interleukin 6. Now all these cytokines, they'll produce the inflammatory response, right? And what does this inflammatory response will do, right? Because of these cytokines, they'll cause the proliferation of synovial cell, which will lead to the formation of pannus. Now what is pannus? Pannus is nothing but a thick swollen synovial membrane. Because of synovial cell proliferations, the synovial membrane will become thick, swollen, right? And will also contain the granuloma. There will also be a granuloma. Now what is granuloma? Granuloma is nothing but a presence of fibroblast and other inflammatory cells such as T cells, B cells, neutrophils, macrophages, right? So there will be a pannus formation which will lead to a granuloma, and ultimately that leads to the necrosis or the destruction of synovial membrane. Apart from that, these cytokines, they also activate the fibroblasts which are present in the synovial membrane. Now what does this activated fibroblast will do? The activated fibroblast will produce three things. One is MCSF, that is M colony stimulating factor, proteases, in that too specifically matrix metalloproteases, and they'll release the they'll stimulate the release of nitric oxide. Now this this MCSF colony stimulating factor will activate the precursor osteoclast, right? We know that osteoclast is responsible for the bone destructions. There are two cells, osteoblast and osteoclast. Osteoblasts are responsible for the bone formation, whereas clasts are responsible for the bone destructions. So this activation of osteoclast will do a bone erosion. They'll destruct the bone, right? And this proteases, what is this proteases will do? This proteases, they'll destruct this collagen 2 which is present in the, destruct this protein called collagen 2 which is present in the cartilages, and so ultimately they'll they'll break the cartilage, they'll destruct the cartilage, right? And we know that the cartilage, they are present between the bones, right? They are responsible for the cushions during the movement, right? So without cartilage, bone will friction with each other, right? And they'll cause the further damage. Okay. Now they also stimulate the release of nitric oxide, and we know nitric oxide responsible for the dilation, and that increases the permeability, so that more amount of inflammatory cells will enter into a synovial cavity. Okay. Now in the severe cases, neutrophils have also entered into a synovial cavity, and these neutrophils, they produce the radioactive oxygen species, which will cause the further damage to the cartilage. These T cells, through this Rankal pathway, they'll activate the osteoclast and will cause the will do a. So because of all these inflammatory processes, the ultimate response will be, there will be a cartilage destructions, there will be a bone erosions, right? And there will be a damage to the synovial membrane, swelling in the joint areas, there will be a redness in the joint areas, and that will ultimately lead to a severe pain into the joints.